Hello, friends, and welcome to Jewels of Truth. My name is Daniel Fontenot. Today we will continue reading from this very important book by A.T. Jones, otherwise known as Alonzo T. Jones. His book is entitled Rights of the People. This book is an old book written in the 1880s or 1890s, 1895, published in 1895. And so, in the last video, I'm going to repeat the last two paragraphs that we read last time, and make the connection between the previous video and this one here. So, the question that we're going to deal with today is, will Christian nationalism result in the persecution of Christians? And if you are joining us for the first time, or maybe you've joined us before, you may be wondering, how in the world could that happen? How could Christians persecute Christians? You know, just thinking about that just for a moment, and I've said this to people before, that people don't expect this to happen. But it has happened. We have a clear-cut, obvious lesson of the past in the history of the Dark Ages, when you had Christians persecuting Christians. You had a false so-called Christian church, the papacy, the Catholic Church, persecuting Protestants. And ashamedly, later on, because of the example given by the Catholic Church, even Protestants later on persecuted true Christians. So again, the question, will Christian nationalism, and we hear a lot about Christian nationalism today, will Christian nationalism result in the persecution of Christians? Well, Brother A.T. Jones tells us, and like I said, I'm repeating the last two paragraphs so that we will be reminded of how we ended in our last video. In other words, when they get the power to oppress, will they use the power? A sufficient answer to this would seem to be the simple inquiry. If they do not intend to use the power, then why are they making such strenuous efforts to get it? But we are not left merely to this inquiry, nor yet to the argument for an answer to the question. We have their own words. At a National Reform WCTU convention held at Lakeside, Ohio in 1887, the following question was asked: will not the National Reform movement result in persecution against those who on some points believe differently from the majority, even as the recognition of the Christian religion by the Roman power resulted in grievous persecution against true Christians? Now, you could read this another way, and apply it to us here in these last days. Let's read it again, only substituting a couple of words or so. Will not Christian nationalism result in persecution against those who on some points believe differently from the majority, even as the recognition of the Christian religion by the Roman power resulted in grievous persecution against true Christians? Now we have the answer by a Dr. McAllister. This is what he says. This is what, evidently he was a leader, if not the leader, there of the WCTU convention at Lakeside, Ohio in 1887. This is what he said in answer to that question. Now notice the fallacy here. The recognition of the Roman Catholic religion by the state made that state a persecuting power. Why? Because, according to him now, because the Roman Catholic religion is a persecuting religion, and he's absolutely correct there. The Roman Catholic religion is a persecuting religion. if true Christianity is a persecuting religion, then the acknowledgement of our principles by the state will make the state a persecutor. But if the true Christian religion is a religion of liberty, a religion that regards the rights of all, then the acknowledgement of those principles by the state will make the state the guardian of all men, and the state will be no persecutor. True religion never persecutes. Now, follow this guy's argument. Okay, so we come here to the end of his answer to the question, will not the national reform movement result in persecution against those who on some points believe differently from the majority? Okay? That's the end of his answer to that. Now, Brother Jones continues, and he says, there is indeed a fallacy here. But it is not in the question, it is in the answer that this Dr. McAllister gave. That which made the Roman state a persecuting power, says the doctor, was its recognition of the Catholic religion. That's what made it a persecuting power. And in a sense, he's right. Which is a persecuting religion. The Catholic Church, that is. But the Roman Catholic religion is not now Brother Jones says, but the Roman Catholic religion is not the only persecuting religion that has been in the world. Presbyterianism persecuted while John Calvin ruled in Geneva. And these are all Protestants now. It persecuted while the Covenanters ruled in Scotland. It persecuted while it held the power in England. Congregationalism persecuted while it had the power in New England. Episcopalianism persecuted in England and in Virginia. Every religion, not just the Catholic religion, every religion that has been allied with the civil power or that has controlled the civil power has been a persecuting religion, and such will always be the case. Any time that religion is allied with the civil power, it will persecute, whether Catholic or otherwise. Now, the most persecuting power, most definitely, is the Catholic religion, no matter what it seems like now. Now, so what this Dr. McAllister was saying, in essence, is, well, the Catholic religion, it's a persecuting power anyway. It was a false religion, so, of course they were persecuting. But if you have true Christianity in his mind can do the same thing that the Catholic Church did during the Dark Ages, but because it's a quote-unquote true religion, it's not persecuting. Well, let's read Proverbs 26, verse 2. As the bird by wandering, as the swallow by flying, so the curse causeless shall not come. Wrap your mind around that verse, the second half of that. The curse causeless shall not come. In other words, bad things don't happen without a cause. There's always a cause. The curse causeless shall not come. Here's another one from the Great Controversy, page 378. Wherever the cause exists, the same results will follow. Some people think that they can, ashamedly, too many people, especially in this country, believe that they can, you can apply this broadly, okay? They think that they can do the same things that, say, the Catholic Church did during the Dark Ages, and the same results will not follow. What is the definition of insanity? I didn't know this till I looked this up, who the author of this statement is. Insanity We all know this. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Albert Einstein, who was considered, to have a giant intellect, is the author of that statement, and he is absolutely right. So, Protestants today just simply haven't got it through their minds. What I'm getting at, dear friends, is that you have people in this country, both Catholic and Protestant, but I'm going to speak especially to the Protestants. They think that they can do away with the separation of church and state and go back to the condition of the church back in the Dark Ages, and the same results won't follow. When you mix church and state, it is inevitable that there will be, I guarantee you, persecution against those who don't follow the popular line, okay? It is inevitable when you mix church and state, when you throw down that wall of separation of church and state, there will be religious persecution against those who don't toe the line, the regular line. And it is insanity to think that you can do the same thing that the Catholic Church did during the Dark Ages and the same results won't follow. All right, let's continue Brother Jones's article. Mr. McAllister's implied statement is true, that, quote, true Christianity never persecutes, absolutely. But it is true only because true Christianity never will allow itself to be allied in any way with the civil power or to receive any support from it. It is true because true Christianity will never allow itself the possession of any power by which anybody could be persecuted. The National Reform Association does not propose to enforce upon all the laws of Christian morality. It proposes to have the government adopt the national reform religion and then, quote, lay its hand upon any religion that does not conform to it, unquote, and it asserts that the civil power has the right to, quote, command the consciences of men, unquote. Now, any such thing carried into effect as is here plainly proposed by that association can never be anything else than persecution. But Mr. McAllister affirms that the national reform movement, if successful, would not lead to persecution. See, I have seen this time and time again, especially when people comment on these videos sometimes, depending on the subject. Okay? I remember one comment, one person said, and evidently they were not Seventh-day Adventists, the person who said this, and he says, I have shared with other of my church, Protestant church friends about what Seventh-day Adventists believe, that Protestants are going to persecute Seventh-day Adventists for keeping Sabbath, the seventh-day Sabbath, and they think that's so ridiculous, and that the Bible does not teach that. The Bible is warning us that this is going to happen. Wherever the cause exists, the same results will follow. If you start down this road of trying to tear down the wall that separates church and state in the First Amendment to the Constitution, I guarantee, just as true as the sun goes up in the morning and comes down in the evening, it will happen. It will definitely happen. But Mr. McAllister affirms that the national reform movement, if successful, would not lead to persecution because true religion never persecutes. The doctor's argument amounts only to this. The national reform religion is the true religion, according to him. True religion never persecutes. Therefore, To compel men to conform to the true religion, that is, the religion that controls the civil power, is not persecution. Really? In AD 556, Pope Pelagius called upon Narses to compel certain parties to obey the Pope's command. Narses refused on the ground that it would be persecution. The Pope answered Narses' objection with this argument. So he tried to get this guy to obey the Pope's command, to compel certain parties to obey the Pope's command. And the guy said no, because if I did that, that would be persecution. Well, this is what the Pope answered. Be not alarmed at the idle talk of some, crying out against persecution and reproaching the church as if she delighted in cruelty when she punishes evil with wholesome severities or procures the salvation of souls. He alone persecutes who forces to evil, but to restrain men from doing evil or to punish those who have done it is not persecution or cruelty, but love of mankind. Of course, the evil, now this is, unquote, the end of the statement. This is from Bauer's History of the Popes, Pelagius, AD 556. You know, the evil he's speaking of here is probably people that are not worshiping according to the Pope's commands and directions, okay? So that's the evil he is speaking of, okay? People that assert their religious liberty to worship God according to the dictates of their own conscience, oh, that's evil. And so if we punish these people, that's not persecution. That's love, you see. That's love. Now, Brother Jones continues, compare this with Dr. McAllister's answer and find any difference in principle between them who can. There is no difference. The arguments are identical. Both of them say, well, if I call my religion a true religion, then I can punish you for not obeying or going along with my religion. And it's not persecution, you see. They both say, both the Pope and this Dr. McAllister. There is no difference. The arguments are identical. It is the essential spirit of the papacy which is displayed in both, and that of Pope Pelagius no more than in that of Dr. McAllister. Another question, or rather statement, was this. Quote, there is a law in the state of Arkansas enforcing Sunday observance upon the people. And the result has been that many good persons have not only been imprisoned, but have lost their property and even their lives, unquote. So this was presented to this Dr. McAllister. And what was Dr. McAllister's answer? It is better that a few should suffer than that the whole nation should lose its Sabbath, unquote. Really. This argument is identical with that by which the Pharisees in Christ's day justified themselves in killing him. It was said by the high priest, quote, there in John 11, verse 50, it is expedient for us that one man should die for the people and that the whole nation perish not. And then says the record, quote, in verse 53, then from that day forth they took counsel together for to put him to death. The argument used in support of the claim of right to use this power is identical with that used by the papacy in inaugurating her persecutions. The argument in justification of the use of the power is identical with that by which the murderers of Jesus Christ justified themselves in accomplishing that wicked deed. And if anybody thinks that these men in our day, proceeding upon the identical theory, in the identical way, and justifying their proceedings by arguments identical with those of the papacy and the murderous Pharisees, if anybody thinks that these men will stop short of persecution, he has vastly more confidence in apostate humanity than we have. Yes. People just don't understand human nature. They think that human nature changes. Human nature is no different than in the time of Cain and Abel. It's no different. We need not multiply evidences further to show that this whole religio-political Sunday law movement of our day is of the same piece with that of the 4th century. The theory is the same. The means and the arguments are the same in both. And two things that are so precisely alike in the making will be exactly alike when they are made. That in the 4th century made the papacy, and this in the 19th century makes a living likeness of the papacy. Therefore we have Revelation 13, 11 to 17. And I beheld another beast coming out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. This is the United States of America. And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and the first beast being the papacy. So the United States exercises all the power of the papacy before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, that is, the papacy, whose deadly wound was healed. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast. The United States says to those who dwell on the earth that they, the rest of the world, should make an image to the papacy, which had the wound by a sword and did live in 1798. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. The image of the beast is apostate Protestantism here in the United States. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Sunday has no basis whatever as a civil institution. It never had any. And the only basis it has or ever had as a religious institution is the authority of the papacy. This is both the law and the literal truth in the case. Let me digress here just for a moment. All of us know that there are Sunday blue laws here in the United States. They are still enforced. Just down the road from us, 20 miles, 25 miles from us. I'm just giving you just one example. You have a convenience store which now sells alcohol. But I have asked people this before. Okay, so it's against the law to sell alcohol on Sundays. Why Sundays? Why not Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday or Friday? Why not? The only reason why they do that is it has its roots in that Sunday law of Constantine back in 321 AD. Okay? That law, which forbids the alcohol, or it's not just alcohol, there are other items also there that are forbidden to be sold on Sundays. I don't drink alcohol. I'm against alcohol consumption. I believe there should be laws outlawing alcohol sales, okay? But that's beside the point. If they're going to forbid the sale of alcohol on Sunday, why not on the other days? It's only because Sunday is considered holy by the majority of people. So my point is here is that people say, well, they ridicule Seventh-day Adventists for believing that there will be Sunday legislation enforced upon the people, okay? But what do you have in the various states? They still have Sunday blue laws. That is a little germ that's still there. It's still there. If the Sunday law had been completely eradicated in this country, then they would not still be enforcing Sunday blue laws in this country. It's as simple as that. Do away with if they would begin by doing away with all of those Sunday blue laws, then okay, then I could see your point. I could see people's point whenever they say, well, that's ridiculous that there will be a Sunday law enforced in this country. Well, it's still there on the books. It may not be enforced to the point of, persecuting people for not, for working on Sunday. Okay? It may not be to that extent, but the germ is still there. It's still there. It was perfectly in order, therefore, for Cardinal Gibbons to endorse a movement to give to the Sunday the legal sanction and support of the United States government, and thus secure the governmental recognition of the authority of the papacy. The Cardinal's endorsement has been heralded by the Sunday law workers throughout the length and breadth of the land as a mighty accession to the Sunday law movement. And, as a matter of fact, it is a mighty accession, but to what purpose? The following letter by the Cardinal to Mr. E. Frank of Jersey City, New Jersey will show. Quote, this is Cardinal's residence, North Charles Street, Baltimore, Maryland, October 3rd, 1889. This is the Cardinal's letter. Dear Mr. Frank, at the request of His Eminence, the Cardinal, I write to assure you that you are correct in your assertion that Protestants in observing the Sunday are following not the Bible, which they take as their only rule of action, but to the tradition of the Church. I defy them to point out to me the word Sunday in the Bible. This is a Catholic cardinal saying this, okay? He says to Protestants, I defy them to point out to me the word Sunday in the Bible. If it is not to be found there and cannot be, then it is not the Bible which they follow in this particular instance, but tradition, and in this they flatly contradict themselves. The Catholic Church changed the day of rest from the last to the first day of the week, because the most memorable of Christ's works was accomplished on Sunday. It is needless for me to enter into any elaborate proof of the matter. They cannot prove their point from Scripture. Therefore, if sincere, they must acknowledge that they draw their observance of the Sunday from tradition and are therefore weakly contradicting themselves. So he's saying that the Protestants are contradicting themselves when they say, well, the Bible and the Bible only. We don't go by Catholic tradition. Well, if you didn't, then you would drop Sunday as your Sabbath and obey the Lord's Sabbath, the fourth commandment, the seventh day, Saturday. And yours sincerely, M.A. Reardon. Kind of again digressing here just for a moment, there are people who ridicule me in their comments on these videos about my insistence that there will be a Sunday law in force in this country. And they challenge me and say, where is the word Sunday law found in the Bible? Okay, they expect to find those words there in black and white. And they are forgetting that the book of Revelation is full of symbology. Okay? There is not a literal beast. It's a symbolic beast. And that beast represents something, okay? Some entity, Of course, that beast, I'm speaking here of the first beast of Revelation 13, it's the papacy. Okay? But if you're going to insist that that the phrase Sunday law should be found in the Bible, then I'm going to insist that you find the word Sunday in the Bible as your Sabbath. You surely won't find Sunday, the word Sunday, in the Bible, but you will find the word Sabbath, the seventh-day Sabbath. Brother Jones continues, this shows that it is as a Roman Catholic securing honor to an institution of the papacy, and thus to the papacy itself, that Cardinal Gibbons has endorsed the National Sunday Law movement. The Cardinal understands what he is doing a great deal better than Mr. Crafts, Mr. Bateman, or others understand what they are doing. And further, the Cardinal understands what they are doing a great deal better than they themselves do. This also shows that those who signed the petition for a Sunday law, as the Cardinal did, were honoring the papacy as the Cardinal was. How appropriate, therefore, it is that Cardinal Gibbons should endorse the National Sunday Bill. How natural, indeed, that he should gladly add his name to the number of petitioners in support of the movement to secure legislation in the interest of the Church. He knows just how his brethren in the 4th century worked the thing, back in the days of Constantine, that is. He knows what the outcome of the movement was then, and he knows full well what the outcome of this movement will be now. And just to kind of add to what Brother Jones is saying here, do you not think that the Catholic Church, the papacy, when they see Protestants in this country trying to tear down the wall of the separation of church and state, do you not think that whenever they see Protestants doing these things, that do they not know better than Protestants where this is all headed? He knows that the theory underlying this movement is identical with the theory which was the basis of that in the 4th century, that is. He knows the methods of working are the same now as they were then. He knows that the means employed now to secure control of the civil power are identical with the means employed then, and he knows what the result must be, that the result must be the same. He knows that when religion shall have been established as an essential element in legislation in this government, the experience of 1,500 eventful years and the ingenuity and patient care of 50 generations of statesmen will not be lost in the effort to make the papal power supreme over all here and now, as was done there and then. And this thing, this Catholic Sunday, this miner and sapper of a religious despotism, this coach of the Inquisition, this thing it is that the Congress of the United States has taken up from the combined Protestantism of the United States and interpreted into the commandment of God and fixed in the legislation of the nation as the Christian Sabbath. In view of all these things, why should not Rome triumph? And now, the Catholic Church itself is taking the lead in enforcing respect for the Sunday by law. The Northwestern Chronicle, Archbishops Ireland, Oregon, April 5th, 1895, announced the organization of a quote-unquote Sunday Law Observance League and prints an address to the WCTU and all friends of the American Sabbath, concluding with the following appeal, quote, all WCTUs and Ys, churches, pastors, young people's societies, temperance organizations, law and order leagues, and individuals are called upon to help maintain our Sabbath as a day of the Lord for the people, without regard to race, sex, or condition, for a day of rest and worship. To this end, let us make Sabbath observance week in Minnesota marked by sermons, public meetings, Sunday school exercises, distribution of literature, and prayer for the better enforcement of law against all infringement of the right of Sabbath observance, and particularly against that arch enemy of God and man, the saloon." Unquote. Brother Jones ends this part of this chapter and says, "From the origin and history of Sunday laws, this was, of course, to be expected sooner or later. And now that this, as well as all the rest of the machinery of a religious despotism, has been made ready to her hand, it is not surprising that she assumes the leadership and sounds the bugle for the general advance." A.T. Jones, Rights of the People, pages 232 to 237. So there you have it. Do you think that Christian nationalism will result in the persecution of Christians? Yes. Yes. This is where we're headed, and very, very soon. If you appreciate this type of content and you want this video to be sent far and wide, then tap that like button at the bottom of this video. If you have any questions or comments, then by all means place your comments and questions at the bottom of this video. Just be nice. That's all I ask. Just be nice. And if you haven't subscribed, then I would highly encourage you to do so. Thank you for joining us here at Jewels of Truth. We hope that you will have a good day in the Lord.